Make sure your insurance doesn't come up short. Get gap cover with ALA. For more information, follow the links in the description.
Hello everybody. You have to feel sorry for any car that came out in 2020 because no matter what it was up against a near impossible task. And such was the case with this, the third generation Mini John Cooper Works GP, the latest in a long line of incredibly popular performance cars. And in this they had the most powerful, most extreme and most expensive series production road-going Mini ever made. However, unlike its contemporary, the Toyota GR Yaris, which exploded in terms of popularity, the GP3 simply fizzled and died. And today, there are those who say it was merely a victim of circumstance, the right car at the wrong time. But there are also others who say it just wasn't that good to begin with. Now, with the fourth generation of Mini upon us, and it looking likely that this could be the last ever GP badged car, it is as good a time as any to find out whether this was simply bad timing or just a bad car. Today, I shall render judgment in this episode of JayEmm on Cars. The third generation of BMW Mini, known mostly as the F56, other chassis codes are available, landed back in 2013, and predictably over the next years we were given a raft of different models. And credit where credit is due, not only have Mini persisted in building both mild and spicy variants of their cars, they've also committed to keeping the 3-door in production. For many other manufacturers, that's a lineup they've ditched entirely. But here, they still do it, and in a great number of variants. And you cannot accuse Mini of being shy when it came to styling the GP3. It was instantly identifiable on launch by those big side plates, made out of leftovers from the i3 and i8 production line. On the back, you've got a rather distinctive wing. The rather nice 18-inch rims, repainted here in BMW stealth gunmetal, are wrapped in impossibly low-profile 225 wide tyres. At launch, I was one of many who thought it was utterly and totally daft. But today, as for the looks, I've got to say, I quite like it.
A special thank you to today's sponsor, NOVE Watches. A small company run by fellow petrolheads, NOVE produces Swiss-made wristwear at affordable prices, with designs inspired by the world of road, sea and air. In today's video, you will see me wearing their range-topping Modena 500, a limited edition inspired by the world of the Italian automobile. For more information on it and the full NOVE Watches range, check out nove.com. And for a JayEmm exclusive discount, use my code in the description down below.
And there are nice little touches like the fact that on the front plate you've got the individual number of your car, replicated then on the dash in front of the passenger inside. Something that harks back to the original GP, and a little touch that I really like, particularly as today even supercar manufacturers tend not to give you individual numbers, instead resorting to the rather lazy one of such and such made. Now, from the driver's seat, it wouldn't feel like you're in anything particularly special, but in a lot of ways, that is a very good thing. For this car's owner, Ashley, it is his one and only. And I think that's the case for a lot of people looking to buy one of these. Like its forebears, it does also do without the back seats, but what you have is still trimmed and effectively a big boot, which I think for a lot of people is the way they'd like to have their Mini. It is dominated by a great big bright red strut brace, but that only serves to give you a little more of that race car vibe. Up front, you'll find the familiar 2-litre BMW B48, here making the same power as in the M135i. So, 302 horsepower and 332 pounds-feet of torque. That's 450 Newton meters. That is then connected to the most controversial part of the Mini, an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Here apparently because it was the only thing that could cope with the engine's output. and it sends all of that power exclusively through the front wheels via a limited slip differential. But that instantly puts this at a disadvantage compared with the GR Yaris, the VW Golf R, the Ford Focus RS Mark III that Ashley also used to have, and of course the M135i. But fortunately, today is still just about dry. So, is it a hindrance? And does this car have that mini magic? Well, let's pop it into manual and find out. So, what it is fast. What it isn't is fun. This has to have some of the worst torque steer I have ever experienced in a factory car. In fact, even many modified cars I've driven are not this bad. Honestly, the first few times I put my foot down, I thought the car was actually broken, because you put your foot down and it just tries to drag you into the hedgerow. And I know us journalists sometimes do like to exaggerate, but no, I'm really not in this, I assure you. If the road is anything other than perfectly level, you put your foot down, you wait just a moment while the turbo builds its pressure, and then when it gives you the power, feels like your passenger's leant over and gone yoink. It's bad, really bad. And what I think actually makes it worse is the fact that it feels like it's got lots and lots of grip. Now, there's no sport mode or anything like that in this car. What you do instead have is a GP mode, and you can activate that with one press of the traction control down here. Now, curiously, it says it'll give you a spicier driving experience because of later intervention of the suspension control systems. Now, as far as I'm aware, this car is on passive dampers, so I don't really know what they mean. What I think they mean is the traction control is now just a little bit more liberal. It's not fully disengaged, or at least I hope it's not. In any case, I'm going to try and see if it's any better. Oh my word! No, not really. You can feel it allowing that differential to do a little bit more of its own work, but even so, yeah. Oh my life. You've got to be ready for this thing. It's quite the character. I know some people talk about cars having personality. This one has got a personality defect, and it really doesn't feel like I'm doing much. Oh my life. I am all over this road. That's not safe. I was not doing that. I probably looked back there like I was being an absolute moron, going all the way over the white line and everything. I was not intending that to happen. I feel like it's only me on a... Yep, again, it's just pulling me every way it wants to go. There's not much predictability about this either. This is scary. This is properly scary stuff. I'm currently driving around this week in a 1970s Datsun, and that's far more trustworthy. I would absolutely love to say, okay, all right, set that aside for a moment. The rest of the package is absolutely brilliant. But it's not. Weirdly, the one part of the package I thought was going to be a problem isn't, and that's the suspension. At low speeds it is overly firm, but when you start to press on, it works really quite well. I like it. My life, car, just go in a straight line for once. Surprise me, will you, damn it. It's crying out loud. Get up to speed though, and actually it does really seem to do the job. These seats too, very nice, hold you in quite well. They do a good job. The steering though, historically a mini highlight. Here, it's just inert. Doesn't talk to you, it's needlessly heavy. The wheel itself very chunky, although not actually overly padded, it's just big. The brakes are good enough, no complaints about either the pedal feel or the stopping power. Visibility too is actually pretty good. Like in all Minis of this generation, you feel like you're a little bit further back from the windscreen than you used to be, and that's because you are, but generally, it's actually all right. B-pillars, nice and far back. It's a good sized car, you can place it well, and for daily duties, it feels just about right. And then the gearbox, well, that's just, well, it's okay at absolute best. It's doing its job maybe a little bit better than I recall it in the M135i, but still, it's just not great. These factory standard 3D printed paddles are okay, but they're just, And just like the chassis, there is no consistency to it whatsoever. Sometimes you get a nice, decent, speedy shift given to you the moment you ask for it. Other times it'll take a few seconds and then give you a sort of all-right shift. I don't understand any of this. Contrast it with the GI Yaris that on paper has a bit less power. 260 odd horses, plays 300 here, weighs a similar amount. This is about 1,275 kilos, but the Yaris is a completely different animal. One of the most entertaining, engaging and exciting driver's cars you'll find at any money. And that, fully loaded with the circuit pack, was £33,000. This, with the optional touring pack that gives you some niceties inside, was 37 grand. And look, I like to think that every single car made has some redeeming features, but with the GP3, I'm really struggling to find them. And you know what makes it worse? I would almost be prepared to forgive the car if you could say, look, right, James, you're testing this on the road, which is the environment in which it isn't really meant to shine. This is the GT3 RS of the Mini world. Look at the aero, for heaven's sakes. But that aero doesn't really do much. I don't think Mini ever published downforce numbers for this car because I don't think it actually makes any. The bits on the side, they're basically for decoration. The wing too, I don't really think that does much at all. Even more embarrassingly, like some Minis before it, the scoop in the front, it's filled in. It's a fake. I hate being the bearer of bad news, I really do, but in this case, I have got some for Ashley. I am not a fan of his car at all. I mean, look, the styling is epic, it looks awesome, he's had people talking to him about it and admiring it, and I know there are some out there who love cars that are seriously leery. That's not me. I don't mind something that's exciting and aggressive, but I do want to be in control, and here, I'm not. The daftest part of the car really is that then the engine and gearbox and all that actually work their best when you're just driving around town and doing normal stuff. But then the suspension is at its absolute worst, and if that's the kind of thing you're going to do with it, well, just go and buy a Cooper or Cooper S. I think if they'd managed to put all-wheel drive in this, that could have been something genuinely spectacular. But I'm sure they'd point out that to do that would have meant the car was even more expensive, and as it was a bit of a hard sell. Maybe that's what they should have done though. Not sold anywhere near as many, made them 50 grand and gone, look, this is the ultimate Mini. This is basically a road-going rally car. That'd have been seriously cool. Instead, this... no. I just can't get on with it. Sorry. Hey-ho, can't win them all. Anyway, I want to say a big thank you to Ashley for bringing it out regardless, and of course, to you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.